Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode. I'm so excited. I have Lidia de la Cruz with me today, and we are going to cheers before we start chatting because I always chat and then forget about the cheers.
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 Cheers. I have coffee, she has some agua.
Agua. Sí.
So get your beverage of choice to join us on this little chat. I'm currently in Florida and she's in the city. I'll be there again soon.
Yes.
Before she kicks us off with her story and her journey into being a Latina in tech, I'm going to share a little bit of her bio and then she's going to expand about it. So Lidia is a first generation Afro Latina born and raised in the Bronx, who pivoted into tech 2 years ago and is currently a software engineer. She shares resources and life as a developer on her platform, Poderosa Coding, and is passionate about helping others pivot into tech. So I'm really excited to have Lidia here because I know nothing about pivoting into tech.
Here I am to talk all about it.
So welcome.
Thank
Like I
you,
said,
Alicia.
she has her page, Poderosa Coding. Make sure you follow her. She does awesome lives and connects you with people and resources. And follow her LinkedIn. She's always posting scholarships, boot camps. If you're really into this, she is your go-to person.
Yes. Thank you for that introduction. So yeah, as Alicia said, my name is Lidia. I run a platform called Poderosa Coding. I pivoted into tech back in November 2019, to be exact. Prior to a pandemic, I decided that 2020 was going to be my year to pivot into tech. No clue, of course, because who would have known a global pandemic would occur during that time? But that didn't stop me. I still ended up pivoting into tech. It worked out for me, and I graduated from Grace Hopper Coding Bootcamp back in December 2020. And fast forward, we're now in January 2023, and in August, I make 2 years as a software engineer.
Amazing. Congrats.
Yes. Thank you.
I love that. And what made you want to pivot into tech? What were you doing before? What did you major in to kind of give context to any student or person listening in? And do you have to like major in software engineering to pivot into tech?
Yeah, no. So I was an undergraduate. My undergrad is in psychology. So like in college, I really wasn't sure what I wanted to do. I always had this idea of I want to help people. I just don't know how. And I think that's how everyone usually feels, right?
Yeah.
And I just went off of one class. Like I don't know, my counselor was like, what is one class that you love and if you could just do all the time you would do? I'm sorry, I live near the train station here, so if you hear it.
The city.
City life, literally. So yeah, so undergrad in psychology, no clue I would be in tech now. I was trying to pursue a career in occupational therapy. I was trying to pivot into healthcare. I have 6 years working in education. So I was like a founding staff member at a charter school. I was operations manager. I pivoted into the public school space. I did a lot of admissions, attendance intervention. So a lot of that with the community, the youth community, and working in underserved communities here in the school setting. And yeah, like in 2019, I was like, well, you know what? Let me pivot. I want to go into healthcare maybe. I love working with kids. I still do. I still volunteer now with Code Nation, volunteering with students. I just couldn't see myself working with students in at what capacity. So right now for me, volunteering works for me. So yeah, so I was like, let me just do occupational therapy. It's in the healthcare field, seems to be aligned with what I want to do. I got rejected. And I think this is where my pivot came about. Every rejection is a redirection. And I love that quote because me being rejected from this master's program really put me in a bubble where I was like, oh my gosh, what am I doing next? Because this is not part of the plan, right? It's like, I knew I was going to get in, but I didn't get in. And you know, what works about this situation is that the more people you talk about it and the more people you surround yourself, people acknowledge and see your skills, right? And I was so fortunate enough to be surrounded by a fellow Latina who was in cybersecurity at Baruch College. And she was like, I see you. I see the way you work. I see the work you do. I see your skills, your personal skills. She was like, have you considered tech? Like she was like pivoting me over. She was like bringing me to the other side. She was like, listen, like we need more of us representation. She
Mm,
was like, you can learn it. You have the skills. You can pivot. Um, so she kind of planted that seed in me, and I kind of started to do research. I wasn't a fan of cybersecurity,
mhm,
but little by little, I started doing a lot of free resources. That's where I start, and that's where I tell everyone to start. Do free resources. If you decide to pivot into tech and you decide to go back to school, that is absolutely fine. A lot of people do that, and
yeah.
they just go into a computer science route, right?
Okay.
But if you're like me and you want to pivot into tech for a career, I always advise folks get into these free resources, dabble into it first, network into it first, and then figure out and lay out your plan. And that's exactly what kind of worked out for me. I did free resources for about 3 months straight. I did everything free. I did scholarships, I did vouchers, anything that I can get a discount on. I did it before I committed financially to actually pay for a coding bootcamp, which I paid
Mm,
for.
mhm.
Um, so yeah, that's pretty much it. That's how I did it. I always tell folks, listen, free, free, free until you're completely sold on this idea, and then you can financially make the decision to really invest into this move.
Mhm. Absolutely. It's always and now there's so many resources online post
Oh
Panini, like
gosh.
everything was thrown online, so you can totally access it. And there's quality resources too. It's not just
Yep.
like a janky YouTube video that you find like in 2012 when we were on the internet trying to find resources. It's more like quality and production and like great organizations putting through resources for underserved communities. I've seen so many pop up within the last year. And I
Insanely.
and
And
I'm oh go ahead.
no, go for it.
No, I was just going to say this is exciting because I get a lot of as an academic advisor, I get a
Mhm.
lot of students interested in it. And in 2017, when I was advising, it was a little harder to tell them where to go versus now, 2023. I'm like, wait, I have a list. I have people. I can be like, go to Lidia, go to this person, go to that, and go to
Mm,
this Instagram page, go to this YouTube channel. And it's like it helps me as an advisor kind of support
yeah.
students through that process. So I'm really excited.
Yeah, no, and that's to my point as well. Like when I first started my journey, I went online, I went on social media. I was like, there has to be somewhere out there. There has to be another fellow Latina that pivoted into tech and went through a coding bootcamp. There has to be one out there. And I could not find one. I could not find one. I did not find anyone who documented their journey. I didn't find
Mm,
anyone sharing anything. And this is back in 2019. And that's when I was like, you know what? Let me do the world the favor. Let me be what I wanted to be for my journey. And I created my page and I started documenting my journey. Any and all resources that I came across, I started sharing, right? I started contacting people. I started connecting and meeting people through my coding page. And from there, it's evolved to where it is, where I'm able to be of help to other people and share these resources, right? Because now I'm overwhelmed with resources that I didn't find in 2019. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, what can I do with this? And I just kind of share it. And I share it on the internet and I share it on people. And I talk about my journey. And to this day, I talk about what it is to be a software engineer, and my career space and my career trajectory, because there's someone out there that's like, damn, like, I want to be able to do that. And I'm over here like, I did that. And this is how I did it, and so can you. And then I love bringing people on my platform too. Like I've been doing a lot of Instagram lives to talk about the different roles in tech as well, right?
mm,
Because there's just so many different roles. There's so many different names to these roles too, but they all align to do the same job description, right? It's just different names and different companies, right? And I love to bring that diversity onto the group so people can know, like, listen, you don't only have to code. There's
mhm,
so many other roles that you can pivot into tech. And here are your options. And here are these pretty cool, dope people that are like okay with connecting with you and are open books and are willing to talk to you about their role. So like, why not? Like 2019, I cannot find anyone. 2019, I could not find anyone. Now, fast forward 2023, I have such an amazing network. I know so many people. I've met people in person through my page, which is amazing. And yeah, it's just beautiful. It's a beautiful space, a beautiful community, and I'm really excited just to be on there and be of service.
I love that. It's in 2019 when I kind of started documenting like supporting students through their career transition, applying to grad school. I was
Mhm.
like, there is no Latina looking like me doing this in this space. So let me just start sharing as well. And now there's so many, there's a community, and like it's great that it keeps expanding. But the same feeling I had in 2017, 2018, 2019, when I would say, I don't know where to send my students besides talk to me one on one. They're like, just start a page, just start talking about it. Like you can show up online. And I'm curious, how has your journey been showing up online and being that representation and kind of giving that permission slip to students? Because we didn't have that, like you and I, from our
Mhm.
experience. And now we can say that we can see other people doing it, but it's kind of like we went through this process and then also showed up online. But I feel like there's also a journey with showing up online. And I'm curious
Yeah.
what that has been for you.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about showing up online is that I have to be super cautious, right? Because what I'm saying, what I'm sharing, my opinions on certain subjects or topics are my own opinions, right? It has
Right.
no affiliation with my job. I don't openly share where I work at. Like if people connect with me on LinkedIn, if someone asks me on a coffee chat, or my job happens to share something about me on their social media, I share it on my page. But I kind of like to keep that privacy.
Right.
um, Showing up online means I also have to be very much consistent. I have to be very much engaged with my audience as well, and I'm a person at the end of the day. I have my own life, I have my own things going. And sometimes I do feel that kind of guilt where I'm not able to really give back to the community or be fully present online when I want to be, right?
Right.
But I'm happy that people kind of understand that, and I'm happy that people still continuously engage with me, follow me or reach out to me. And I think I really like that about folks, that even though I'm not actively on there, sometimes people still happen to check in on me. Right
Mhm.
now we're doing in this very pre possible economic recession.
Mhm.
And a lot of folks reach out like, hey, like there's so many layoffs. I'm like, are you okay? Right.
Mm.
Or vice versa. People are like, hey, Lydia, like I just got laid off. If you know of anything, share with me. And I'm like, mental note, if I come across something, think about this person, right? And I'm just
Mhm.
adding them to my think box, as I say. Um, and so forth. But there are challenges, but there's also really rewarding moments, right? Like
Mhm.
people who have followed me from the beginning, that have seen it all, people who have used my resources, pivoted, and are like being successful and like are in tech already, right? So there are these fascinating stories that I can think of, individuals that like literally took my advice and resources and like shared it and applied it, and now they're pivoted and now they're just growing and glowing. And it's just beautiful to see that, because like I had this conversation with this person, I kind of gave them these resources, I connected with them, I connected them with other folks that were of resource. Now it's like beautiful because like I have this community of people. But not only that, I have the other side of it, that I've connected with tech people who are just like me, who are just dope and cool. And they're like, listen, Lydia, like you need help, and you want to send me someone, I got you, I'll help them, right? And it's just beautiful. It's just beautiful that people are just willing to do this help. And it's just like we're just helping one another here. Like
Mhm.
I see you, you see me, and I got you. I'm kind of gonna help you. So like it has its pros and cons, but
Right.
I feel like the reward of being able to like literally change someone's life, change a fellow Latina's life, right? Who didn't see herself being able to be in tech, to be in tech. Gosh, I mean, I would take the cons of it 1,000 times to see those changes. Or to see a change of a working mother, like a working mother of two
Mm.
with a family, right? Wanting to do it, but not believing in herself and doing it. Like, wow. Yeah, no, speechless. Speechless.
I love that. It's like, wow, speechless. And
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that kind of outweighs maybe any imposter syndrome we might feel on social media, or
Yep.
like run into the trap of like comparing ourselves and with other individuals online. But if we focus like in our community and who we're helping and who we're serving, then it kind of makes it
Mm-hmm.
all worth it.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, I love when people share with me on their updates. I love when people share with me on their wins and progress. Like I honestly do love it. And I try my best to tell folks like, please tell me, like share with me, tell me what's going on. Like I want to know, I want to hear it too,
Mhm.
right? And when I connect with people through coffee chats, I tell them like, we're connecting here now, but please keep me updated. Like if there's anything you need, just let me know. I'll reach out to my contact. And that's something I tell people like when I network with them, when I connect with them. I'm like, if you're connecting and networking with me, just know that I'm going to bother you at one point and I'm going to need you to talk to someone. So
Mhm.
being part of my network is also being part of a community, right? Like
Mhm.
you're acknowledging that if I need anyone, I'm going to shoot them to you. If you're at Microsoft, Google, or any other company, I'm like adding you think my think box. And when someone mentions it, I'm like, I know who to send you to, and I'm sending you them. So get ready for that. But yeah, it's been awesome. I've been very, very lucky. This building this community and brand, this expansion of it it's been beautiful in so many ways. I mean, I've met people in person, like I've traveled and met people in person, right? Who would have thought I could do that, right?
Yeah. I
So
know.
it's pretty cool.
Are you working on any fun projects or plans for the year that you can share through Poderosa coding?
Yeah, I'm planning to. I have one goal, one major goal. Like, I really want to be able to be a speaker or a panelist in
Mhm.
person at some sort of tech event. That has been my goal to be able to do something in person. I want to be able to speak in front of an audience. I want to be able
Mhm.
to show up authentically myself. I want to show up with my curls with and just talk about my journey and just be in that kind of space. Um, that's one thing that I do want to be able to bring myself and as a speaker in Poderosa coding to that space. And I think this year I really want to leverage the space and really try to see if I can partner up with a non-for-profit and start doing in-person things. Like I mentioned earlier, I really do love working with students. I do it right now on a volunteer basis virtually, but I really would love to be in a school setting and
Mhm.
really give back on the volunteer level in that aspect.
Mhm.
But specifically, the community I want to work with is like underserved communities that I'm very familiar with here in New York City.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, branch out into that. And I also want to possibly offer some kind of service out there
Mhm.
for folks in tech. Maybe like offer like a resume writing,
Mhm.
like a coaching call kind of thing. But my goal is never to monetize with these services. It's all
Right.
like very affordable, low cost prices. As is, my coffee chats are free. Like anyone can come talk to me. I have a Calendly and I'm always open to talk tech. You can catch me for hours. This can go on for hours. Right?
Seriously.
And I tell folks that I'm like, listen, Calendly only lets me schedule 15 minutes because it's a free version,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
we can talk for like up to an hour if you want or more. Because I can just talk about this all day.
Yeah, no gatekeeping. For me,
Yeah.
since I'm in grad school now, I have limited time to talk to students, but always always down to chat, always down to connect. And like you kind of put it in your Rolodex of who do you connect with? How do you build
Hmm.
that bridge with the people that you are meeting and who do you already know? And I think that's beautiful as like Latina community building to really have that as a value system within your organization, brand, whatever you want to call it, Poderosa coding. Um, I think it's kind of a mission and a foundation for like an organization.
Yeah. And I've been thinking about that. I've connected with other folks who built out non-for-profit organizations in these tech spaces. And it's something that I'm exploring for Poderosa
Right,
coding yet.
right.
Again, I tell people, I'm not gonna lie, I deal with imposter syndrome all the time at
Mm-hmm.
work, personal, through my brand, in all aspects of my life. And it's something that I've been really struggling with and hoping that I can really, leverage this community and give it more that I know I can. Like
Mm-hmm.
give it to the best its potential because I know
Right.
it's there. It's definitely there.
Absolutely. And seeing like I struggle with that too now that I'm in grad school, Latina. I thought there would be more Latinas in grad school at NYU, which is a very diverse institution, a very diverse city. And I'm
Mhm.
still sometimes the only Latina in these spaces.
Mhm.
And I'm like, wow, in a way, I feel like I cannot afford to have imposter syndrome because we also have to pave the way for
Mhm.
younger students or younger individuals to
Mhm.
like see us represented in these spaces. But then I'm like, okay, give yourself grace. You can feel these feelings, you can feel what you're feeling, but then also keep moving. Do you have any tools that you've developed over the years to help you
Mhm.
navigate that imposter syndrome? Because I think we all feel it.
Yeah. So I'm really big on manifestations and affirmations, right? And this year I've pivoted to bringing my manifestations and affirmations onto the digital side of me, which is using my iPad and my
Mm,
Notion. So I use a lot of manifestations and affirmations, right? To remind myself of my greatness, my power, my potential, who I am as a person. Another thing that I do is I really heavily rely on my community. I, through my coding, my free resources, through my coding communities, through tech meetups, I literally have friends who are software engineers who look like me, who have the same background and culture as me and same struggles. And I have a group chat with them. And when I'm feeling horribly down, when I'm sending them screenshots of things that aren't working and I'm feeling horrible and like stuck, they just elevate me. They're like, they send me encouraging words, they elevate me, they remind me of my potential, they remind me of who I am and how far I've gotten, right? And they just empower me. Having that community and space of friends. Through my coding bootcamp, also, that's another great way that I built my community. I can literally count with you like people that are actually my friends, people that I actually made through that,
mhm,
friendships that I made through that space, that I've even been in my living space, like in my apartment, like, and I've made these connections and cultivated these relationships to the point where they elevate me. They remind me of who I am. Lydia, you are a boss. Like, you are powerful. Like, do not forget you are Poderosa, right?
mhm,
So that to me is so big in itself that I can just literally text them and give them 1,000 complaints and they'll remind me like, no, like, cry, yes, cry, go through the emotions, go through the feelings, but I need to remind you of who you are and look how far you've come, right?
mhm,
So, manifestations, affirmations, my community, my friends, hardcore rely on those three things to really, 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 really push me through it. Because I
mhm,
tell people, like, imposter syndrome is real. There's no cure for it. Like,
mhm.
it just takes up space in your head rent free. It like creeps up, then it just like kind of goes to sleep and settles, and then it kind of creeps back up. It's just knowing how to manage and deal with it so you
Mhm,
can just shut it off, but it's always going to be there. It just has its moments of rising and creeping up on you, and you have to have these tools readily available on how to
mhm.
like power through it and just stick through it.
Added these different tools to your toolbox to kind of navigate
Mm-hmm.
it.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's a great way to put it, that it's going to be here. And do we give it attention? Do we talk to it? Do we engage with it as it flares up and
Mm-hmm.
then like manage it? I think that's a great analogy and like metaphor to
Mm-hmm.
process what that is.
Yes, I tell people, and then I tell people who are familiar with El Cuco, how, growing up in the Latin culture, they talk about Cuco. And I'm like, it's like El Cuco's there, but only comes up at certain times. And how do you get rid of El Cuco? By turning on the lights in the bedroom or whatever.
That's
So
so
I'm like,
true.
yeah, it's like it's there because your parents tell you it's there. You haven't really seen it. Pero how do you combat that? Well, you turn on the lights, you just wake up, you check under your bed, and it's not there. But those are your tools, right? You turn on the light, you wake up, you look for it. So
That
yeah,
is
it's
fabulous.
those are the ones that I kind of use.
I love that. I love that. Um, And I know you mentioned earlier that you identify as
Mhm.
first gen. How would you define first gen Afro Latina outside of the textbook definition, just for yourself?
Yeah, first gen. Wow. I think for me, first gen also encompasses being an older daughter. I'm the oldest, so
Mm,
it's a lot of responsibility, a lot of maturity, a lot of struggles, a lot of identity struggle, I think, too, because being in the school setting, I'm being exposed to different language, but then when I'm come home, I have to kind of code switch, right? And I have to accommodate to a language that is accommodating to my parents to be able to speak to them, right? Being first gen is also paving the way, like my parents telling me I need to do certain things because I am the oldest, I'm first gen, I am the reason why they're here. Like, hey, we came over here so you can do this, this, and this, and then that, and this is what you need to do to accomplish that. There's a lot of pressure, and also being the oldest daughter is also being a lot of pressure. Being a woman is another pressure too, right? This pressure of wanting to encapsulate you, not let you be out free into the world because they're not familiar with that culture. What they know is their culture, right? From what their roots that they brought back at home. They're new in this world, in this space, so it's a lot of no, you can't go out there, you can't do this. Oh, I don't know what that is. You can't try this food, you can't try that food. Oh, don't eat street food. It's a lot of it's a lot of rules. It's a lot of bubble making in the process, bubble encompassing in the process. um it's a lot of maturity. I want to feel it's a lot of responsibilities too, right? Because you are the first gen, you are the oldest. This is why we came here, for the like American dream. So you must do all these things that we have outlined for you. It's like I was born and like my life, my parents already predetermined how it's going to be. Like, yeah, you're born, but hey, like this is your plan. This is what you're going to do. This is what we have ready for you, kind of deal. Um, so yeah, I think for me as an oldest daughter too, it brings a lot more responsibility. Helping my parents, helping and navigate so many different things at home. Also dealing with like being with divorced parents too, dealing with two different cultures, right? Because my father's from Dominican Republic, but my mom is from Guatemala. Two different cultures, entirely different customs. I would go home to my dad and come with these customs and come back home, and my mom's like, no, that's not what I do. That's not what I want you to do. Or vice versa. So it was a lot of clashing because of these two identities that I identify as, right? So it was a lot of that too. Um, Balancing both and being able to make both parents happy.
How
Yeah.
many siblings do you have?
I have a total of three siblings. That's
Okay.
four of us, and
Four.
I'm the oldest. Yeah.
You're the oldest. Yeah. It's those nuances and layers are so important to talk through because I think as Latinas, we have to process that in a way that gives us space to grow into ourselves. Do you think
Mhm.
you've been able to navigate and create a journey and a story for yourself outside of maybe the pressures that you feel?
No, for sure. And I think because of the pressures that I felt as a child, I knew not to settle for less. And I was
Mm,
always given that reminder. As the oldest daughter, my parents always reminded me, you cannot settle for less. Like you are here, you are in New York City, you are in America, you have the tools, the resources, so don't settle for less. And I think that was for me was so important. And also my parents never fell into the social pressures. I'm 33, going to be 34. I don't have kids. They actually don't have any grandchildren at all. And my parents have never asked me, when are you getting married? When are you having kids? Like
mm,
my parents have never asked me that question because they have always instilled with me that this is your life. You can do what you want to do. At the end of the day, what makes you happy. You're going to make these choices. Um, and I think for me, I think it's a blessing, right? Because, coming from other friends who are growing up in Latino cultures, that's not the thing. They have to go back home and deal with the usual holiday questions, right? Like, when are you doing this, this, and this, and that? And I'm very fortunate that that conversation has not happened with my parents
mm,
whatsoever. They don't even ask me. They just kind of let me live my life in a way. Um, and that to me, it's great because I can create my path, and they're happy and I'm happy, and I don't have to worry about these pressures. As is, I have pressures from society, and that's one less thing I needed to come from my own unit, like my immediate
mhm.
family.
I love that because I feel the same way. My parents don't talk, well, they talk about it, but not in a pressure way. whereas maybe abuela wants a different story, but that's
Yeah.
just her generation and like where she grew up and all that stuff. But it's it's so funny to hear difference, not funny, it's interesting to hear other people's
Mhm.
like journeys of what they process. And I love that you mentioned that you're 34 and child free and not feeling the pressure of society and maybe other family members, not for you but other people have feel that from
Mhm.
family members. I'm also 31 and not have children. So I think it's refreshing to hear that on other Latinas and also have that as a representation that you can build your journey for yourself and not maybe feel the pressure to have a family and kids already or that you're behind because you're not behind.
Yeah. Yeah. No, everything you've said just is on the nail. It's exactly how I feel, right? Because I think, my everyone in my family have, excuse me, my parents like lineage had children at a very young age. My mother had me and I was like 20, right? And I
Mm-hmm.
couldn't even fathom that when I was 20, I was like, wow, my mom had me at this age. Like, oh gosh, how? Like, how could she? And I think because of that, knowing that I'm her oldest daughter and knowing that I have the choice and the will and resources, she's like, listen, live your life. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm living my life through you and just do what you want to do at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
Because these pressures that we hear, that these things we have to do, and it's like, no, I actually don't want to do that. And I don't have to do that. There's things that I actually want to do that don't involve that. So,
Right. And
yeah.
making that choice
Hmm.
to talk through that and like think about it. Um, Along that same vein, if you could talk to maybe 15-year-old or 20-year-old Lidia, what would you
Hmm.
tell your younger self?
Oh gosh, what would I tell her? Um, to to do her dreams, I would definitely tell her to take the risk. Um, I've always wanted to travel and do something abroad, and I was always so, so, so scared to do that.
Mm,
And not until now, as an adult, I'm tapping into solo traveling and doing all these things. When I was younger, I always wanted to, I just never did. And if I could go back, I say take the risk, do whatever job it is you had thought at the moment, and just go live abroad and do something abroad.
mm,
Go take a course or a class abroad. Go do something abroad and you'll be entirely okay, right? Like your parents will be okay, you will be okay. If I could, because looking back at it now, I was just so scared to leave home and just be in another country. Had I experienced it earlier, I honestly I don't know where I would be. But now as an adult, I'm healing that inner child and healing those inner dreams and making sure I accomplish those things now.
I love that, healing your inner child, giving her what she might need in what she
Hmm.
might have needed in that moment.
Yeah.
For sure. I love that. I'm a huge study abroad proponent. I always tell students like, go do it. Like we'll figure out a way to
Hmm.
pay for it. We'll figure out a way to make it happen. Get over the scared part of it. I think that's and there's so many different scholarships opportunities, even to do it as an adult. So um, definitely make that happen.
Yes.
Yes, I love that. Are there any last words of wisdom nuggets that you want to share with our community? Where can people find you
Yeah.
tap into your tech community?
Yeah. So I'm in pretty much all social media platforms, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, as Poderosa Coding. And then on my LinkedIn would be like my first and last name, which is Lidia Cruz. And I always like kind of like ending with quotes because that's just quotes have really directed my life in so many ways. Like I mentioned earlier, rejection is a redirection. Had I not been rejected from a master's program, I would not be here. Um, you have to get uncomfortable to get comfortable, right? So I had to get very uncomfortable learning an entire language that is speaking with a computer. I had to get very uncomfortable in pivoting careers. Once I tapped into that uncomfortability, was that I am now comfortable, right? Now I'm like riding the wave of comfort, right? And thirdly, for all, if not now, then when, right? If I don't make this pivot now, then when will I do it, right? I'm getting older and not getting younger, and I'm losing experience by not pivoting into it. Or talking about as I with career, right? Like traveling. If I keep waiting to travel, why? I'm losing time when I could have explored so much more. So those three quotes I really always hold dear to my heart, because those three quotes really pivoted my life in so many different ways and so many different aspects of my life, that I just, those are my three daily, like heart to heart quotes that I just love and live by, literally.
I love that. That's a perfect way to wrap up the conversation with Lidia, and I'll do the tweets and make sure I put them in
Thank
like a
you.
little quotes box on Instagram so people can share it and hold it and save it and maybe put it on their affirmation cards if you have them at home.
Yes.
Yeah. I love this chat so
Thank
much,
you.
Lydia. Make sure you follow her.
Thank
I'll
you.
link all of her contact
Yes.
in the show notes as well. And stay tuned for maybe a part 2 when we'll do this in
Woo!
person live.
Happy in person. Yes.
I'm so excited. So until the next one, my
Thank
friend.
you.